Hey there, this is Joy, and today I'm joining the Altenew educators in the Anything Goes video hop. You can see the description as well as refer to my blog for the complete list of products. I die cut the pieces from Nina Sola White 110 pounds cardstock using the Crafter Flower Tulip Full Bloom layering die set. After I finished die cutting all the pieces, I loosely assembled them to decide how I wanted to color them. I used 4 analogous colors or the colors next to each other on the color wheel to color the flowers, with red being the base of the flowers followed by reddish orange, orange and lastly yellow. I have also used complementary colors to create the darker color on the petals and the leaves. Using complementary colors will help to add more depth to your images. As I chose red for the flowers, I opted for its complementary color which lies on the opposite side of the color wheel, and that would be green. For a darker red color, I used Just Green Artist Marker below the Vineyard Berry marker. For the darker green, I used Heartbeat Artist Marker below the Hunter Green marker. However, if you don't feel comfortable or you don't want to use complementary colors, you can always use Grapevine Artist Marker for the darker shade of red and Evergreen Artist Marker for the darker shade of green. I use washi tape to stick the die cut pieces to the negative portion of the cardstock. This technique is especially helpful when coloring small die cut pieces. I started by coloring the petals with Just Green marker. You can also use the Grapevine marker instead of the green marker. I then applied Vineyard Berry over the green and a little outside the colored area. You have to cover the green completely with the red marker. Then I blended it out with Heartbeat marker, followed by Firebrick marker, and then by Autumn Blaze Artist marker. You can color the petals using small circular motions or long strokes. You can keep the negative die cuts in your stamp packet for future coloring or ink blending projects. I then applied Citrus Burst marker on the petals. To get the color between the yellow and the orange markers, I followed the tip-to-tip coloring technique. I placed the tip of my Citrus Burst marker on the tip of the Autumn Blaze marker and then applied the color on the petals. Blending alcohol marker colors from 2 different color families can be a little difficult, but using this technique makes it easier to blend them. Once you are done coloring, then you can wipe the tip of the Citrus Burst marker on a piece of scrap paper and your marker nib will be back to the original color. After that, I repeated the entire process 2 more times, starting with the Vineyard Berry marker and ending with the Citrus Burst marker. Then I went over the edges with the Colourless Blender. I like to leave a little bit of white at the edges of the petals as this increases the contrast and the petals look like they are glowing. You can also use a white gel pen for adding highlights instead of the Colourless Blender. I will be sharing new videos featuring alcohol markers, so be sure to hit that subscribe button for more marker tips and tricks. After you remove the die cuts from the negative portion, you can use the artist markers at the edges so the color at the edges matches the color of the petals. I colored the edges of the 3rd and 4th die cut layers to match the colors on the 7th and 8th die cut layers. I repeated all these steps with the other petals. You can skip coloring the lower portion of the petals at the back and just color the edges. After coloring the petals using the tip-to-tip technique, I went over the white portion with the Colourless Blender followed by the Citrus Burst marker. This helps to achieve a seamless gradient from yellow to white on your cardstock. To remove the color from the glass mat, I used some isopropyl alcohol and wiped it down using a paper towel. After that, I sprayed some water on it and wiped it down with a paper towel. I started by coloring the leaf and the stem using the heartbeat marker. You can also use the Evergreen Artist marker instead of the heartbeat marker. I then applied hunter green over the red and a little outside the colored area. Then I blended it out with just green marker followed by sweet leaf artist marker. Next, I colored the edges of the leaf and stem using Parrot Artist marker. These are all the leaves and stems I colored using the artist markers. You can add shadows and highlights in different areas of the die cut to make them look slightly different. I arranged the images according to the layering guide on my mat and adhered the die cuts with liquid glue. After that, I used Autumn Blaze marker to color the edges so the overlapping die cuts have the same color. To create the background, I applied water on an A2 watercolor cardstock using a flat brush. I mixed Prussian blue and Phthalo green watercolor and applied it on the cardstock. Then I tilted the cardstock to move the watercolor. After that, I placed it on my mat and picked up any excess watercolor from the edges using a clean brush. put a tiny dot of Prussian blue on my palette and mixed it with the existing color. Once the panel was dry, I applied the watercolor on an acetate sheet, placed it on the cardstock, and gently moved the watercolor using my fingers. Then I removed the acetate sheet and let the panel dry. I repeated this process few more times till I was happy with the background. I used a mini fan to help speed up the drying process. I don't like to use a heat gun as the color looks dull when it dries and I prefer bright and vibrant colors. You can use a blow dryer with cool setting or a mini fan to speed up the drying instead of the heat gun. For the last few layers, I used phthalo green watercolor. After applying the green on the acetate sheet, I sprayed it with water and then placed the sheet on the cardstock and gently pressed it with my fingers. Then I rotated the sheet and applied the color on the cardstock. I repeated this process few more times. Next, I splattered phthalo green on the panel using a fine brush. After the panel was completely dry, I stuck it on an A2 card base using foam tape. The sentiment is from the Blossom and Bloom stamp set that I stamped on white cardstock using Obsidian Pigment Ink. After trimming the cardstock, I inked the edges using the fine brush. I hope this video inspires you to create, and if it does, please tag me. I would love to see your projects. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, live creatively and spread the joy of handmade art.